formats, everyone can see that? Everyone good? Everyone fine? Good. I say if there's no answers, then I'm gonna assume that's okay. Okay, cool. All right, let's talk about the again. I think I've mentioned it just briefly, but let's reintroduce ourselves to the understanding of what a format is. When we listen to stations again, it is every station, according to their license, is assigned a certain format, right? So we have so many, I'm saying just in the world, different types of radio formats, because there's just so many different radio stations out there, just so many radio stations, period, right? In South Africa, again, if we look at, let's say, we have to look at the commercial level first, because that's where obviously we have the mass obviously competition, because we have the lower, I say the much lower number to cover entire country. Let's say, what are we at, like 60 million now? It's quite a lot of people to, again, we always say, yeah, I've said to you before, you pick one radio station that's commercial, one PBS, and 10 to 1 community, and that's what you kind of stick to. So somewhere along the line, a commercial radio station is going to fit into your blend of music tastes, but we don't have a massive choice, especially if we now go down to regions, and so but they have to be competitive. So you for any competition, any industry and competitiveness to exist, like there has to be choice. When I say choice, the variance in choice. So we have our CHR stations, which is contemporary radio. So we're playing all the hits, and that's that's say 947. We've got our adult contemporary, which is our Jacaranda. We have obviously combination hybrid talk, and then I think adult contemporary alternate urban, which is, let's say, Kaya. Also to a very smaller portion, because there are some versions of talk shows, on Metro. It would be kind of the same thing, but it's obviously largely categorized under jazz and soul instead of urban. Urban's just a little bit more. Urban is kind of. It's. I would say it's a newer kind of format that's. It encompasses a larger amount of being able to play anything that is considered, like we say in our country, we've got quite a large variation of what falls under urban. So a lot of the stations have readopted that kind of format for themselves, where let's say like YFM is also urban, but it's alternative youth urban, and we can carry on amongst those, in that kind of sphere, either adult contemporary, either urban, either youth, either contemporary hit radio, and that's kind of where our sphere actually goes. We go into things like Hispanic, and we go into country, and we go into many different sectors of formats. But the importance is why they are created, and why licenses are issued is because we need to note that we don't have, let's say, two of the exact same station that exist in the same sphere of competition, So in that sense, like, does it really create, and does it really really promote healthy competition? Not really. But there's not really anything more I can say, but okay, that's what we got, So so not a lot of commercial stations are foreseen to still open up here in South Africa. They did already introduce, like, the newer stations. So again, we had Power as the first one. I think the latest one would be Kakasi FM. Is there anybody? I'm hearing stuff. Are you guys fine? You good? Good. Okay, good. All right. So then, on the latest, it would be Kakasi FM that opened up, and that's also been around for quite some time. Under the bracket is also Smile FM that also open up there, and I think I've mentioned before, like there's supposed to be one in every province that does open up, and that was the original plan of ICASA actually issuing these commercial licenses, so that again we would increase the competition, and then would have healthier would have a healthy industry, as competition is great for any industry. But once again, the Free State has been left out. Free State is still dominated by OFM, and no one's really going to actually stand up and create civil war if there's a radio station that they don't know exists yet, because that's how just how things are. So, but as far as that's concerned, we go down to our community stations, which we have a massive amount of. But again, in terms of quality, not a lot really stand out. Even whether they do what they need to do and they do service the community, and those stations, there's a lot of very similar formats within the same area, because they shouldn't have received the license that allows them to broadcast further than a certain like footprint. You understand? So let's say like like campus stations, campus community stations are supposed to get maybe a 10-kilometer radius, and most community stations maybe follow to maybe a 15-kilometer radius, and nothing further, because that's your community, right? So if we do find slash when we do find community stations that kind of overlap, the transmission isn't that great as well. You'll find you get a lot of white noise. A lot of them do exist actually on the AM frequencies as well, which does anyone here listen? Do you listen to AM at all? Is it like, have you listened to AM? It's not exactly the best experience ever. So has anyone listened to any AM radio stations? Anybody? Yeah,
Nope.
Superior?
No, no, no,
Nothing?
not at all. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yes.
I have.
Tell me.
Radio Today and LM Radio, but Radio Today signal, it's bad.
Bad,
It's
eh?
bad. Yeah, it's bad on
Yeah.
AM.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the thing is that, Tommy, and when you do listen to, like, let's say you said you listen to Island Radio there, did you decide to go via the app, or could you tolerate the AM, Christopher? Yeah,
No, I didn't tolerate the AM.
yeah.
It was just the experience. I just wanted to experience different things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have
So
time. Yeah, we have enough time in life for at least one time experience. Yeah, it really isn't pleasant. The thing is that, um, I don't know what we're doing. Oh, we went to a christening of one of my nephews, and we were driving back, and we wanted to listen to Panhellenic. We was like, okay, we're feeling our obviously our heritage. Let's listen to Panhellenic. Let's listen to some Greek radio, man. And I had forgotten, because I had not tuned into AM. I'm saying the actual frequency on a radio set for so long, as to how obviously bland and very dull the audio quality is on AM. Whereas because like for obviously 98% of any radio that I do listen to, I just stream it from the phone, and from obviously the phone, if you're streaming, all the quality sounds the same, because it's going through obviously a different process and stuff. The processing is different, and we're getting it as different on a different medium as it is. So and then I was like, oh, okay, damn, like this is the reason why, again, AM stations that it's a big thing. 702 was there forever, and they managed quite well regardless of the quality of AM, but then did move over to FM. FM has enough frequencies that are free to allow, they kind of like switch over. But it's just one of those things where, again, we have the 300 odd stations, and they do exist there. They do what they can. Stations, some communities just don't care as well, because it's more about the station and what's being said, as a form of necessity, not really the quality that actually counts. Again, to obviously just to focus on the fact of what quality is defined, and as today, with obviously it being, I mean, like, let's say just the transmission in its totality is one main reason why we would just switch off. There's no point in listening to something that's a bit fuzzy and a bit like a white noise-ish, shaky. For example, if we do have our stations like Five and Metro, and we are traveling even from, let's say, Pretoria to Joburg, the frequencies completely change. We do we you know It's not something that that people stick to. I'm saying to you, even if you are, let's say you do decide to use one of those two national stations as your station, you will tune out even while the switches are busy happening. You won't tune into another, like I say, what's what I'm looking for now, syndicated frequency. For those, you just rather tune into one of your other choices as it is. Okay, anyway, all right. So the thing is that we have had some cool stories like Aldo's FM, where they many years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, they went to ECOS and they said like we need a station for ourselves. We don't actually have one. We're part of we're like where we located, where Aldo's is located is kind of in between different community stations, and so they wanted one exactly for the community. And the ECOS did something I never heard of before, which was they issued a 3-month license, and they said to them, if you can retain, obviously, and sustain the a station, because from then onwards, like I mean, you've got to obviously raise the capital, you've got to build the studios, you've got to get everyone in there, whatever it is. We will extend, and then that's exactly what they did. They extended the license, and it continued extending, but it was never part of ECOS's plan to have a license available for Eldorado's park. So we do have situations like that where even Alem now has been off air for, I think it's been over 6 months now, and because they have been trying to gun for an FM frequency, and the AM frequency license was not renewed by LM Radio, I'm saying to you. So they're currently online, and that's how people are streaming them. And a lot of the listeners haven't even noticed because they go to the if there's an I don't think there's an LM Radio app. I think you just go to either the site itself or what was streaming before, like to your obviously your radio apps is streaming still as it is. So no one's really noticed that they've actually gone off the AM frequency in the hope of right now to land an FM frequency. Okay. All right. So let's quickly have a look. Then there's contemporary hit radio. Um, so this is not. Yeah, it was. So 5FM isn't actually our CHR station. It's supposed to be 94.7, 947, right? So because of the fact that the way that both stations have kind of moved a little bit out of like the original licenses were not like this. Five has really pushed the urban thing, and they pushed specifically, obviously, youth urban, right? And then again, the contemporary hit radio, by definition, means that listen, you are only allowed to play hits, and Five still plays a lot of quote unquote alternative music, which means that they are playing newer stuff that's also not really played on other stations. Some of their obviously their choices. Again, if you're looking at the people that are listening to them, it's still majority white male, um, which is something that they've inherited for many different years that have passed, but and couldn't quite really shake, even though they do target specifically black female aged between, let's say, 21 and let's say 28. So but the contemporary hit radio station because it was the OG CHR station is 947, who is also again moving like within the limits of their license, which is broad, um, trying to really appeal to a little bit more of an urban market, even though they are, like I say, they are stuck to the CHR station. I have no problem with CHR stations. We want contemporary hit radio. They are again here are so I've given you more specific ones that actually match directly. Urban CHR, again, contemporary hit radio means that it has had to have been a hit somewhere for it to play. So I want you to kind of just discard the CHR in the sense that it's not correct. I want you to be like, let's go a little bit further. Again, like I say, youth, alternative urban youth makes sense. for YFM. We don't have we don't have dance stations. If we do that, they're internet based. Alternative in any sense, right? Between any additional, let's say, explanation as to what the format is, means that you are allowed to break new music, which means that's why YFM will have its particular place in the market against, let's say, other urban stations, because they are allowed to play, like they're allowed to choose what they break as well. And we get a relatively new and fresher music playlist on YFM when it comes into the urban sector than we do when we find on any other station that's in Gauteng. Are there any questions? Actually, there's a mic on. Is everyone fine? Everyone good? Good. Okay. So under the reign of adult contemporary, again, as one of the again as one of the prefixes, I was suppose, or suffixes, we don't really know, it's just a description. Okay, so Metro, KFM definitely, Heart FM definitely, Smile FM, C947 still more contemporary hit radio. It used to be adult contemporary, and again, in terms of defining the license, you also won't really do that unless it's a really like something majorly different has been obviously requested, or they've done it without obviously consent, whatever it may be. East Coast Radio, OFM, Kakasi FM, most African language public broadcast services are considered adult contemporary, right? Just quickly accept someone. See the noise there. Okay. All right. So, yeah. Okay. All right. So, okay. So more varieties. Again, as I said, this can carry on forever, and it does. I'm saying in the terms of the worldwide spectrum as to the variety again of formats, because within again our large countries in America, in our obviously Europe, where the density of people is the population is very high, much higher than in Africa. Like a station is allowed to exist to represent a certain portion of the population. So the higher number of people, the more than likely a station will exist, right? So again, you can just imagine if you are sitting in a small community. As I said to you, I worked for the station in Harlem, and I mean just around, and there was a commercial station that had 400,000 listeners, but in South African terms, that sounds like a lot. That sounds like a big player. When you have let's say around about that or higher, and you sound like, okay, cool. I mean, you should be reaching around about like 800,000 to about 1 million to be a big player in South Africa. But 400,000, it was nothing to say, well, I mean, like that's bad at all. But it was tiny. That's a tiny station, and just in New York City alone, they had is it in the state? But there are 100. There are over 100 commercial stations in the state alone. I think that's more
Sorry,
accurate.
Chris.
Yes,
You said the station had how many listeners?
for about 400,000
Oh,
just
well,
in
that
Harlem.
no, that's a lot. That's a lot. The Power FM doesn't even get close. Even 702 doesn't get close to that.
No, no, but you see, the thing is, again, okay, obviously the station has to provide good content, and it had an angle. I think I've explained this to you. So what they do is they choose a representative from every country in Africa for 6 months, and you represent your country for 6 months. So the rotation like constantly changes and stuff. But what's cool about that is that like it's a very alternative kind of like license, and it's very interesting. It was very great. I found it at first. I thought that people in America would not want to hear at all from people in any other country as it is. Never mind Africa. Like what kind of connection, or because we always talk about, let's say, connection with your listener. But it was again, because they come in expecting something different. It was mostly one-way communication. I'm not going to lie, because you had to broadcast remotely. But anyway, my point is, it was look, I mean, the thing is that in comparison with the other stations that do exist in America and within states, it was considered a community level number, just to kind of like re-comment on what you had said there. But yeah, no, like the number for power, just as just of late was not good. Okay, so just don't want to go too fast with that. So hot, modern, soft, language specific, urban, etc. It goes on and goes on and goes on. Right. So you see, this is what I say to you. So here's just a little excerpt from your textbook, where CHR is defined like as pop, rock, dance, whatever it is. It needs to have, again, it has to have been a bestseller. So even I remember trying to. It was very easy to pitch music to the music department at community level, because they don't mind taking the chances, and it's not that serious to try. Let's say a song that sounds good or whatever it is, and let's see what the how the obviously the feedback on that goes. But at a community level, sorry, at a commercial level, I would even go sometimes, even for friends of mine that were in the business, saying to you, like, from SA artists, and it would be like an entire process to try and get their songs obviously played, whether they were now obviously regardless, they had to be under label, whatever it may be, and have a certain amount of hits that were played somewhere else, or had to exist on community stations somewhere to be able to move over to commercial radio as well. Like, again, they had to be bestsellers. As I'm saying, to contemporary hit radio, if you must just want to classify between different stations, ask yourself, like, is the music that they're playing brand new, like, or is it charting somewhere else? And today, obviously, because we do consider digital platforms a direct, obviously, like they're a direct, well, a consideration. There we go. As to what, whether something is popular or not as well. We do obviously keep that into consideration. Some reliance on golden oldies, so there should be some kind of rotation with it when it comes to the scheduling as well. That does include classic songs. Classic songs or anything that actually goes from 5 years onwards. Like I'm saying, it's 5 years old slash older, but because of I mean, that can really change kind of the feel of your station itself. If you go a little bit older, you go a little bit too new, whatever it may be, that doesn't, like the choice between those have to be recategorized and subcategorized, should I say, for you to say, okay, I'm gonna play maybe one every 4 or 5 days that was from, let's say, the I wouldn't go even far as back as the 90s on most commercial stations, except Jacaranda, except East Coast and OFM, excuse me, and like KFM as well. But because again, just one song can be very puzzling for a listener. Like, oh, well, this doesn't quite fit in. This is a bit too old, and it's not under feature. It's not under anything that we're expecting as it maybe like a promo, or it's not labeled. In other words, it just was randomly put in there, and it's supposed to be sold as quite a normal part of the format. So. That is to be carefully interpreted. Some reliance on a recurrence, so the recent hits with lower on-air exposure, which is considered our bubbling under lists. Stations will either lean towards dance music or be rock oriented. Again, that's a very brass statement to make, because again, for it to be CHR, it's got to be anything that people like, and there's a lot of people that do like. All of us like different things. If you and I learned that the hard way. I always thought, as you grow up as well, you kind of defined in many different ways by many different things, but definitely on the music that you listen to. And I'm not trying to say it, but okay, it's way past your age group. So the Spice Girls were completely, I mean, cheesy, whatever it is. I was like, nah, I'm too hardcore for that, any type of that crap. And I landed up by mistake watching the movie. I mean, by mistake, the movie that I actually wanted to watch was Fool. I was like, okay, fine, let me just go there. And it brainwashed me. And I actually made Spice Girls. Like, I listened to their music, and that is in comparison with like the same playlist I would put, let's say, my M&Ms, but then I would go hardcore like Marilyn Manson, and then I would go into my R&B favorites. And I was like, the more I grew into music, the more you grow into understanding that, well, you like whatever you like, whatever suits you. Uh, you probably tend to want to also gravitate to a station that, for me, CHR stations are kind of where I belong, and you also find like I say, you'll find your a reflection of who you are, obviously, in terms of, because this is your lifestyle. So radio is part of your lifestyle. So if we look at adult contemporary, like pop music is aimed at an adult audience. So softer than CHR, heavy reliance on golden oldies and recurrence. The idea is that every song in an AC station, quote unquote, you can't see me doing the bunny quotes, but it has to be safe. You understand? So we can't have something, we don't want to ideally playlist something that is a bit too raunchy or a bit too, like, however driven, politically driven, racially driven, I don't know, whatever it is. It can't have like a particular agenda. It's got to be like quite fun and um something that people actually listen to and say, oh, I don't mind if it's playing, even if it's not the best song ever. I'm saying my favorite song, or one, or something that I like currently. It is softer, quote unquote. So it's less recognizable when you are rotating that playlist. That you'll just keep the radio on more as a background, um, more so than something as a source of information, and something that you're quite passionate on it delivering. Um, so then again, we have the urban formats, as I've been saying to you. So the rhythm and blues, R&B, rap, hip hop, dance, mellow, jazz fusion, gospel inspiration. Stations will either lean towards music playing, or for adults, or for teens or young adults. Okay. All right, and then depending on the extent to which the station caters for younger audiences, the catalogs will usually be smaller and than the ones that are aimed at an older audience. You can literally, that literally is reflected in what I just said to you, as a person in their 40s, saying that, look, I mean, the music toleration is actually, your toleration is lower, but the thing is, because you've been exposed to so much as you grow older, you don't mind a little bit of more variety, because it just is there. Where when you are younger, you are kind of very passionate and locked into what it is that you do enjoy and do include into your day. Okay. All right. I just want to pause it just for a second there and get back and just do a little bit of a reflection on like the stations that you do consider your number one, and why do you consider them your number one, again. So we can go. So let's go, Bash, with you. What is your number one station that you listen to?
947.
Okay, and tell me any reason why. So tell me any reason why. Tell me first of all, the music that they're playing. Like, you don't have to tell me about the formats, but is it? Tell me about the music that they play. Tell me about the shows that you listen to. Tell me about the features, whatever it is.
Um, hmm. Uh, I think the music is they do have country there and there. Um, but it's mostly like English, English music. You
Yeah.
won't find a piano playing.
Yeah.
Um,
Can you
yeah,
Yeah, can you see why the contemporary radio sits there, Moss? Even though we have, like, let's say, so you'll see that you have to ask yourself. I just want to pause you just for a second. Who is 947's actual competition? And the closest you actually do come to is someone like Five, maybe, and maybe
yeah,
Jacaranda. Even though
yes, yeah,
947
okay.
is, yeah, considered the younger choice. You understand? Out
Yeah.
of let's say that Jacaranda, and five is always
Mm.
five's always it's a question in the air for most people. They say like that's yeah. So sorry, just continue. I just wanted to point out the lack of competition. Yeah, continue. And you
So you
listen to
and I mostly listen to Anil in the Club, the Breakfast Team,
yeah.
and I listen to Hulisani Ravele, and Zweli. Yeah, less of from Susie James and Tanda Tabete.
Okay. All right. And tell me just like what's your favorite feature? Let's just say that. Like are the things you that particularly never want to miss if you let's say had a choice?
Honestly, I listen what do I want to say? I listen to radio more when I'm like driving to the office. I
Yeah.
hardly listen when I'm at home because I usually listen to or watch YouTube videos,
Yes, yes.
motivational things in the mornings.
Yeah.
So I listen mostly when I go to the office.
Okay.
And it's usually Anna in the Club in the morning.
Okay. That's great. Thanks. Okay, so let's go with Sibulele. You tell me. Is she there?
Well,
Oh,
yes, I'm
earlier.
here. I
Earlier.
listen
Good.
to can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you. Perfect.
All
Earlier.
right, I listen to Sobowenene,
Mm,
and I do not miss their breakfast show.
mm,
They play most African songs.
yeah.
So yeah, that's what I listen to. That's what I get up to in the morning.
Tell me, has that been a, like, how long have you been so I call him a P1. So it's your first choice, a P1 listener for Global Wenene. How long has that
Since
been? Since you were a
since I
kid?
was very young, since I
Yeah.
yes, because it's they speak my home language. So since I was very young.
Yeah, okay. And that's
Yeah,
the thing with PBS stations. That's what I'm saying to you. It's
yeah.
also it's a pick that's handed down to you also because it's quote unquote, if you want to kind of picture that metaphorical thing of what's in your home and you understand what would be the choice there as well. I'm glad. Okay, let's go to Nompumelelo. You tell me.
Chris, I don't listen to radio. I haven't in a while. Well, I
Wow.
used to use, I used to
That's
listen
okay.
to Metro.
Yeah.
No, that's the
Um,
truth because I try to think, but I
yes,
don't.
no, that's
I hardly.
Look,
So I used to
okay.
listen
So
to
let's
Metro.
say
Yeah.
let's say you picked a favorite station. Let's say your soundtrack to your life, something that you would go back to on a regular basis. Who would have that been? Who would? Yeah, I think that's proper English. Maybe it's not. Yeah, tell me.
I would listen to Kaya. The afternoon drive with Shizutomo.
Okay, okay. Tell me why.
Um, because it's informative and I like the music that they play on the afternoon show. They
Mm,
play mostly the recent tracks.
okay, okay. All right. So I'm gonna go for one more. Let's go. Shalom. Not there. Let's go with some Simpiwe. Try it. Oh yeah, no, Shalom, you switched on. Go ahead, go.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So to be quite honest, I prefer the more digital age. But you know, to
Yeah.
work
Boo.
because media is part of our life, big part of our life. We do have the radio playing all day. I mean, I do try and sometimes listen in the car. It's more just to hear who's advertising and you know who the shows are, just because it's nice to know what other people in this country are interested in. That's why I'm very interested in radio. But from a
Right.
personal music point of view,
Yeah.
I prefer Spotify to be quite honest, or YouTube or something like that.
Okay. Can you tell me specifically, like, so are you just streaming music or is there any information that's coming across?
So, music's a big thing because you can have your own playlists. People can send you playlists. You can try new genres.
Mm,
You know, a lot of the music I'm listening to is not, you know, not even on any mainstream. Um,
yeah.
And these days I'm quite into, especially like if I'm running or exercising, I like podcasts. There's so many great podcasts, you know, from learning things to motivational to, you know, things about the brain, for example. I've been listening to a lot about, you know, people that are lecturers that I would never have heard about. Joe Rogan's a big one I listen to.
Yeah.
So it's not always music.
Okay. Okay. Well, look, again, so thank you for that. I wanted to go, we got some time. Let's go through. So it says Sipho Tamu, yours? Yeah.
The radio when I also drive to work, morning breakfast show by Uncle Chaps, YFM.
Okay. All right. And Tommy Moore, I mean, because isn't that, I mean, that's come to an end, eh? It's coming to an end in 8 days. Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming to an end in like it's tomorrow. Tomorrow is his last days, if I'm not
Oh, okay.
mistaken.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
tomorrow
yeah,
is
because
his
he
last
starts
day.
at Metro, what, on the first, eh?
Yeah.
Are
So
you following
tomorrow is
him?
his last day. Yeah, I'm
Are you gonna,
following him even on Instagram. Yeah.
no, I'm saying,
Even
are you gonna
on
follow him like lit physically, like to
like
Metro?
when yeah, I'm pretty sure I will because I mostly enjoy his shows. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna follow him.
Okay, I want to just kind of point out once again that that this is a good example of why the DJ is not bigger than the brand. You know, you're actually tuning to YFM. It obviously like to not take away from Ankle Tap. You understand? Like the thing is that at the end of the day, if you can't, if you weren't tolerating Metro in the beginning, you will only tune almost as if it were a specialized show to listen to Ankle Tap alone. You know, and then tune out completely and go back to YFM because you are
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
pure. You understand, right? Okay.
Because
We haven't gone through. So is it my party? Yeah, go.
It's my papadi, but anyway,
Oh,
it's okay,
my
Chris.
party. Sorry, there we go. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So I think the radio stations that I like 94.7 and Tobela FM.
Okay, tell me why. Yeah,
Well, with Tobela FM, I think it's just something I grew up listening to. I mean, I still do. I guess I miss home most of the time. So at night, I'll come home and listen to Tobela FM to just listen to what's
yeah,
happening there.
yeah,
And then with 94.7, when I get straight into the office, the first thing I do is switch the radio on, tune into 94.7. Anela in the club, afternoons with Tando as well when I go
yeah,
when I'm going back home. So I think it's more of a music thing with 94.7. I really do like the kind of music they play, except I feel like they repeat the same songs all the
yes, they
time. I
do.
know
Yeah.
every song now. And then
Not to say contemporary radio. Thank you. That the textbook needs to be updated. Continue. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, and then when it comes to Tobela FM, I think their music just takes me back, way back. Their music has a lot of jazzy vibes in it, and I think I'm into.
Yeah.
I really do like jazz, and I like it's soothing. I don't know, but
Yes.
but if I
No, I'm
would,
gonna
if
say, and that variation of jazz is also very, very cool. It's very broad as well.
mm,
But yeah, continue.
certainly.
Yeah.
And if I could, sometimes I feel like just calling 94.7 and be like, hey guys, can you guys just, change it a little bit with a little bit of rock here and there, or I'm a
Yeah.
piano here and there.
Yeah.
I'm not really, I'm not against music. So I feel like music is very broad. And, with me also being something, I really do love music. I'm a guitarist myself. So
Sure. Very
things like
nice.
this just don't add up. All the ways just don't get it.
Yeah. No, look, I mean, the thing is, and I mean, not to take away you're wanting to do that, but you will not be the first, to say, listen, could you just switch up? But also, at the end of the day, it must also show something about how much of 947 you do consume, because of that repetition is the rotation of highly popular songs, which is again, they kill the song. They will kill a song because that's what CHR stations do. Thank you for that. Christopher's left. Go ahead, Christopher.
Oh, I'm the last one.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can you? Okay. I'm currently experimenting with a radio station called Kiss FM. They are based
Okay.
in Kenya.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got my reasons. I've got my reasons, Chris. You know, the arrogance of South African DJs and their boring content. South African radio is boring actually. Because
Okay.
we can't all say we're gonna listen to Anele in the morning. Radio is dead. I'm just
Wow.
experimenting with music. I'm not.
Such
I don't
bold
like listening
statements.
to music, but radio is dead.
Politics.
Yeah,
No,
it's true, and I concur with Mapapadi. I think she should send Ravi an email at Prime Media that Ravi, if Anele goes, then it means that there's no 947.
yeah, that's look,
So
we've had that
but the thing is
discussion.
with
Yeah. Tell me.
mm,
No, I'm
so
here.
with Kiss FM, I'm only listening to their breakfast show because I like the energy of Kwam Box and Obina. Kwam
Mm,
she's a musician and Obina is a comedian. So they are the it people in Kenya. So I was just fiddling around and I
mm,
came across them. I like the energy, even though they are 1 hour ahead of us. Their breakfast started at 5, so it means that when
yeah.
someone wakes up around 6 7, they are about to
Logging on.
finish their show. But I just decided that no, I'm done with South African radio because there's no consistency. Today you're listening to this one, tomorrow they are fired.
Yeah,
So when
yeah, I
you're
was gonna
still
say to you
trying to,
what,
yeah, you
yeah, what was your final, so tell me what was your final straw? Like when did we break your back?
come again.
I said, what was your final straw? When did you make, you made the stand and you were like, no more. What exactly was the day or the moment? Can you remember? Or were there too many?
The moment you were breaking, sorry, please repeat yourself, Chris.
I'm saying to you, like, what in
The
particular?
final
I'm saying,
moment, the
yeah,
final moment that made me to stop listening to
yeah, that's it. Yeah,
the what made me to stop listening to South African radio.
yeah.
It's quite a lot. It's quite a number. I can mention them until
Uh,
tomorrow. But the thing is, when Terry got rid of John Robbie on
yeah,
702, that's when I was like, it was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
a
You're
small
old
issue.
school. Yeah, you're old
Yeah,
school.
about the hair issue, that the controversial issue that John commented on, even though people don't know. And
Yeah,
right now, I tried to listen to Just Ice while he was on 2000 in the
yeah,
mornings, but the thing is now I can catch him later at night. So because now
yeah.
he's
But
just
you're
playing
also
a lot
yeah.
of music, which
So
is
you're
nice. No.
yeah you're adopted from an old school. I mean, because obviously you grew up with, like you said, like the Just Ice and what, and you know what I'm saying. Um, you see, I just want to also point out, and again, obviously having been there pretty much for my entire commercial career, um, the fact that you know who manages and who does what at Prime Media is a reflection as to how transparent, which is not a good thing, because obviously once the listener goes past a certain line in terms of there's a little bit like there's a bit of personal invasion, as to what should happen within a business and what should be left out totally. And maybe I say fabricated because that's what press statements mostly are. They want to obviously, like as you've just seen now, we've had the massive changes. Everyone's out of their shock. Everyone's like, okay, whatever, it's over. But every statement kind of always starts with like I'm leaving. I've decided to leave after 7 years or 2 years or who knows how many years. There's so much bigger the range, and as you know about the coal that we have spoken about, so I won't obviously revisit it, but you just were witness to it right now. I understand why you don't want to listen to it anymore. Again, you're going through a phase. When I say a phase, every one of us, because again, we because of the choice that we have, we I say minimal in terms of choice of commercial, but we have such an overload of choice of stimulation throughout obviously our day. Um, that our listening habits are again we're either very Well, no, I think we are just in general, like we're very protective and very temperamental about what does happen. And we either decide something is good and we leave it at that until it genuinely pees off, or we just continue listening to it. And that, just again is a part of our lifestyle choice and say, oh, well, this is exactly what I feel I need for the moment. Let's quickly finish this up. This first lesson, yeah. Okay, so we have speech-based formats. Okay, major speech-based formats, obviously our news talk information, news talk business, sports talk, political talk. And again, because we have a limited amount of talk stations here in South Africa, it's SAFM, we have Power FM, we have 702, and I'm missing someone. I'm forgetting. Oh, and Power. Did I say Power already? Power, SFM, 702. What am I missing? I think that's a three. No, I think that's a three. Yeah, so there isn't, I mean, talk again is one of those things that definitely you like. My uncle is obsessed with 702 because everything that he considers knowledge, he will then process, and then he will always talk about on 702 this morning or whatever it may be. Now, okay, he's an incredibly old man, what I'm talking about, like when you are building I'm saying you're building your life, there are certain moments in your life where you feel like you want to be super informed about everything, and you just want to break, which is what people do with talk radio in specifically, is they will add it to their bouquet of what it is that they want to listen to, or have a choice to listen to. So you'd like to feel a lot more informed, and that is not because you need information to get on like further in your life, but because like like what it does for you and your mental stability, for sure, you understand. Because when we do feel more, or we are more informed, we feel powerful in different ways, or it is, again, a reflection of what you prefer and what you are in terms of both a mindset, physically, in terms of your psychology, as well as mentally, like how we fit in. Oh, there's Cape Talk. That's one I'm missing. Okay, so 702 Cape Talk, 949 98.7 SAFM. Again, even though Power really genuinely struggling, like genuinely, in terms of being a commercial station that is on an FM frequency that has all the fittings, and it really should be having like no problem with listeners, but it kind of is. And one of the previous managers having a conversation with, and because it's, I mean, we can still consider it as a new station, but the thing is that the management structure has changed so often, particularly when I was speaking to this one lady. She had a certain vision for. So again, as I say to you, most of the mission and a vision statement. Vision is the one you can't change. She had a mission statement, which is very different to the person that followed, and the person that was before her. And so the thing is that it feels like now, when we saw, I mean, that was quite a big change for what Power made right now, in terms of their lineup and how they reconfigured everything. It's kind of a little bit of everything, but a lot of nothing at the moment. And that's where I'm going to leave it, because I don't want to. I don't feel that they actually deserve more criticism right now at this very moment. But it is exactly that. Just there's a lot of everything, and there's a little bit. There's a little bit of everything and a lot of nothing. Um, which the other stations like our SAFM and our Cape Talk 702, SAFM is a little bit less, the less of the three, and not because I'm favoring Prime Media, but it is quite, there are not exactly some great shows in there, but they at least are strictly, they're quite consistent in what they're doing, which then also shows and reflects in the numbers, because people do like their consistency at the end of the day. Okay. All right. Speech formats. Okay, that we have, obviously, the hybrids. We have our Metro FM, just because of the talk in the evening. Kai FM, we have variation of talk throughout the entire schedule, and then Radio 2000, which is a station that does have, yes, talk, it does have music shows, but it is also supposed to be primarily for sports, okay? Like the sports broadcast and so on and so forth. Okay. All right. So again, just more cutouts from your book. Just want to kind of touch on, I don't want to, I really don't want to go over this again. So I'm just going to leave it at that because that looks like just a bit of a summary. Okay. And just again, further to have a look at those, what we have chatted, within different formats, you can just find here. And so these pages are, well, okay, I didn't really specify that. You'll be able to find that. I'll send that through to you. I'd like to go here. Okay. So if can anyone remember what I said in the first lecture, which was only a month ago, it wasn't so far ago. Why did formats, and I'll give you a short break now. Why did formats come into play? Can anyone tell me? Why did we eventually have formats? When did formats actually begin? Because that'll help you with the answer. And why do we have formats in general? Anybody? Can you remember? It has to do with the war, World War II specifically. I'm gonna go with, let's go with Simpiwe. You try.
No, Chris, I can't. No, I
That's
can't
okay.
remember.
I mean, I want the honesty. So you got no idea, just nothing at all. Not even a horrible guess. Pretend this was for money, man. Like you'd attempt something. Yeah.
No, Chris, let me not like fumble. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Let's try. Let's go down the list. Let's go, Shalom. Can you like figure out an answer? Do you have one for me?
Racking my brain here without trying to Google it.
Oh, you're not gonna, don't Google it, man. Like,
I'll just do that. I
okay.
don't know. I remember we discussed this, but I don't know.
So okay. So the thing is, so if I bring in the word television, does that refresh anyone's bells? Like, thank you, Mapapadi. There we go.
Hi Chris. I remember you did mention something about television, and I think how formats came about was to, I don't know, compete with television.
Yes, well done. Why? Because the thing is that because before, and radio had existed for many, many, many years, it was informative and the only source besides obviously print, which was very delayed, as it still has its like delay session still because we have to go to print and news has to be news as it is today. But yes, the thing is that it was the premium like source of entertainment for every family that existed and every person in the world, that had access to radio. But the thing is, when television came, what it do? It gave all the senses what they needed, except smell. We just go smell and taste. What am I saying? I'm not living in 3023. Yeah, so no smell, no taste, which is I suppose fine. But so we had to develop formats, right? So that it wasn't the only thing that we did to change, obviously. That's why we introduced music and music was the reason for formatting, but again, deciding the hybrids and so on and so forth. Good. That's good. Can you answer the next one? Let's go while you're on a roll, man. What can we learn from this in 2023? So anything that you wanna add to that, knowing that we have a multitude of choices, that external factors were the reason for needing change. We've had so many ongoing external factors within let's say the media like sect, which is so big right now, in terms of different obviously platforms, etc. What could we learn as let's say from radio? I'm saying, so what can radio learn from its choice that it made back then to stay alive, to stay now? It's a very difficult one, I suppose. But you can try again, Paddy.
I don't look. Chris, I don't know if I understand the question. What can radio learn from this in 2023?
Yeah, so let's say, so what happens is that, so they made those choices particularly because it was a immediately dying medium. They had nothing that TV couldn't do better back then, because they would do all their dramas then. Like I said, all the big, like I say, big stars, all our Academy Award winners would come onto a radio station. They would act and they would do their dramas there. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Like everyone would rush to a station. So it was like I say, a premium brand that everyone could access. I say a premium medium. But when television became a household thing, so you could only go and watch a movie, which obviously, I mean, didn't cost quite a lot of money. They wanted a lot of people to go watch whatever it was. And again, especially during the wars, like people wanted to go, and even when soldiers were back and forth between countries, they would go, and watch films, But when TV came along, just post World War II, like radio had a massive problem for being immediately, like completely, it was pointless to have it. It was useless, because it was literally just a poor man's choice of TV. So today, what can we learn from all the constant influx of new innovations and new quote unquote threats of attention to our radio space? Does that make it clearer? Yes, no, no, yes. Okay, I'm gonna give you. The straight answer to that is what I've said to you. I've said to you partially before. It's really important to understand that the moment that we lose focus of why we have, like, the purpose that we have as a medium, right? And we don't re-innovate. I'm saying the product itself, as opposed to trying to change it to compete with other mediums that have their own place, is the moment that we will lose focus, if that makes any sense, and completely lose control of the medium and its importance. A lot of people have often said, and they keep saying, that radio is dead. But the thing is that today alone, just through the 8 of you, I mean, there was like at least 4 or 5 people that said, listen, I listen, and I listen to I mean, you might as well play it back as an old school image of, I put the radio on, and when I go to the office, when I go home, it's being done. This isn't a myth or a conspiracy theory, Illuminati feel. Like, radio is listened to, and it's still it's not competing. It's not like on its last breath. People like it because there's a purpose to it, and it's different from any other medium. For it to, like I say, for it to last, what changes need to be made is that it has to actually just remain being innovative in the way that it needs to be great. So Christopher had mentioned, which is true, and it's not because in that way I want to be critical. It is very difficult to listen continuously and loyally to South African radio because it has adopted a rather non-fantastic nature, So when you do listen to the stations and you do listen to the shows, only a very, very select few, which then can get kind of boring, because again, you don't want to always have only a selection of 1 or 2 or 3 shows that you want to point out as being great, I mean, that's kind of saying a lot about our industry and where we are. Okay, I'm gonna stop it there. I hope you learned something.